Are you afraid to uncover the truth behind ancient curses? The old town huddled under a blanket of mist. The early morning fog wrapped around the buildings like a shroud, muffling the sounds of the waking world. It was as if the town itself was reluctant to wake, preferring the quiet embrace of the mist. Cobblestone streets, slick with dew, glistened under the sickly glow of the streetlights. Each step I took echoed softly, the sound swallowed by the damp air. The streetlights cast long, eerie shadows that danced and flickered, creating an unsettling atmosphere that seemed to whisper secrets of its own. An unsettling stillness hung in the air, broken only by the distant chime of the town clock, each clang a hammer blow against the silence. The sound reverberated through the empty streets, a reminder of the passage of time in a place where time seemed to stand still. The town square, usually a place of gathering and life, now felt like a stage set for a ghostly play. I felt a shiver crawl down my spine, a primal fear that whispered of unseen eyes and ancient secrets. The feeling was almost tangible, like a cold hand resting on my shoulder. I glanced around nervously, half expecting to see shadowy figures lurking in the corners of my vision. But there was nothing, only the oppressive silence and the weight of the unseen. This town held a story, one whispered on the wind, a tale of a curse. The trees seemed to murmur as the wind rustled through their leaves, carrying with it fragments of forgotten lore. The fog swirled around me, thick and impenetrable, as if trying to keep the town's secrets hidden from prying eyes. My journey had led me here, to this forgotten corner of the world, following the trail of a legend. I had heard whispers of this place, tales of a curse that had plagued the town for generations. Driven by curiosity and a desire to uncover the truth, I had ventured into the mist, hoping to find answers. The locals called it the Heart of the Curse, a name whispered with a mix of fear and resignation. Their eyes would dart around nervously whenever the topic was brought up, as if speaking of it too loudly might summon the curse itself. They spoke of strange occurrences, of people disappearing and shadows that moved on their own. Generations had lived and died under its shadow, their fates intertwined with its sinister power. The old graveyard, with its weathered tombstones, stood as a testament to the lives lost to the curse. Families had been torn apart, their histories marked by tragedy and sorrow. The weight of their stories hung heavy in the air, a silent reminder of the curse's reach. I was here to break that cycle, to unravel the threads of the curse and free the town from its grip. Determination fueled my every step, even as doubt gnawed at the edges of my resolve. I knew the path ahead would be fraught with danger, but I couldn't turn back now. The town's fate rested on my shoulders, but every step deeper into the town's heart felt like a step closer to an abyss. The narrow alleyways seemed to close in around me, the fog growing thicker and more oppressive. It was as if the town itself was trying to swallow me whole, to keep me from uncovering its darkest secrets. The air grew heavy with the weight of countless untold stories, each brick and cobblestone a silent witness to the curse's reign. The buildings, with their crumbling facades and broken windows, seemed to watch me with hollow eyes. Every corner I turned revealed more of the town's decay, a physical manifestation of the curse's power. The scent of damp earth and decaying leaves filled my nostrils, a pungent reminder of the town's slow, inexorable decay. The forest that bordered the town was a tangle of twisted branches and rotting foliage, a mirror of the town's own decline. It was as if the very land was infected by the curse, its lifeblood slowly draining away. This place was dying, strangled by the tendrils of its own haunted history. The once thriving community had been reduced to a ghost town, its streets empty and its buildings crumbling. The few remaining residents lived in fear, their lives overshadowed by the curse's presence. It was a place caught in a death grip, unable to move forward or escape its past. I could feel the pulse of the curse in the very air I breathed, a rhythmic throb of ancient power. It was a living thing, this curse, and I was walking into its heart. Each breath I took felt heavy, laden with the weight of centuries of suffering. The air seemed to vibrate with a dark energy, a constant reminder of the task that lay ahead. It was a living thing, this curse, and I was walking into its heart. The path ahead was shrouded in darkness, but I knew I had to press on. The fate of the town depended on it. With each step, I steeled myself for the challenges to come, determined to uncover the truth and break the curse once and for all. The town's history was a tapestry woven with threads of tragedy and despair. Each corner of the town whispered tales of sorrow, and every stone seemed to echo the cries of the past. The air itself felt heavy, laden with the weight of countless untold stories of suffering and loss. Each generation had borne witness to the curse's touch, their lives warped and twisted by its malevolent influence. The portraits on the walls told a silent story of a lineage marked by pain, each face a testament to the enduring grip of the curse. The eyes in those portraits seemed to follow you, as if pleading for release from their eternal torment. The townsfolk, hardened by generations of suffering, met my arrival with a stoic silence. Their faces were masks of endurance, their eyes reflecting a deep-seated resignation. They had learned long ago that hope was a dangerous thing, easily shattered by the relentless march of the curse. Their eyes, filled with a weary resignation, held the weight of their ancestors' pain. It was as if they carried the collective sorrow of the town within them, a burden passed down through the ages. The elderly, in particular, seemed to bear the heaviest load, their gazes distant and haunted by memories of a happier past. They had seen too much, felt too much, and hoped for too little. The curse had drained them of their vitality, leaving behind hollow shells of what they once were. Their desolate expressions spoke volumes, a silent cry for salvation that had gone unanswered for far too long. I delved into the town's archives, dusty tomes filled with faded ink and yellowed parchment. The scent of old paper and the feel of brittle pages under my fingers transported me to a different era, a time when the curse was but a dark whisper on the wind. Each book, each document, was a piece of the puzzle, a fragment of the town's tragic history. The library, a musty mausoleum of forgotten knowledge, held the key to understanding the curse's origins. It was a place where time seemed to stand still, where the past and present coexisted in a delicate balance. The dim light cast eerie shadows on the walls, adding to the sense of foreboding that permeated the air. I spent countless hours poring over ancient texts, each page a brushstroke painting a picture of a past consumed by darkness. The more I read, the more I felt the weight of the town's history pressing down on me. It was as if the very words were imbued with the sorrow and despair of those who had come before. The curse, it seemed, was born of a broken pact, a deal struck between a desperate soul and an entity of unimaginable power. The details of the ritual were shrouded in mystery, but the consequences were all too clear. The town had paid a heavy price for one person's moment of weakness, and the curse was the lingering shadow of that fateful decision. The details were shrouded in cryptic verses and half-erased passages, but the essence was clear: a life for a life, a soul for a soul. The ancient texts spoke of a binding contract, sealed with blood and bound by dark magic. The curse was a constant reminder of the price that had been paid, a debt that could never be fully repaid. A blood price had been paid, and the curse was the echo of that ancient transgression. The stains on the parchment were a stark reminder of the sacrifice that had been made, a chilling testament to the lengths one would go to in a moment of desperation. The curse was a living, breathing entity, feeding off the pain and suffering of the town's inhabitants. The weight of that knowledge settled in my gut, a cold, leaden weight that threatened to crush my resolve. The more I uncovered, the more I felt the enormity of the task before me. It was a daunting challenge, one that had defeated many before me, but I couldn't let fear paralyze me. I had to find a way to break the curse. I was facing something ancient and powerful, something that had defied generations before me. The symbols and artifacts I encountered seemed to pulse with a malevolent energy, a reminder of the dark forces at play. But within me burned a determination to succeed where others had failed, to bring an end to the town's suffering once and for all. But I was determined to break the cycle, to sever the threads of fate that bound the town to its doom. I knew it wouldn't be easy, and that the path ahead was fraught with danger, but I couldn't turn back now. The hope of an entire town rested on my shoulders, and I was resolved to see it through to the end. The air in the library crackled with unseen energy, the presence of something ancient and watchful pressing in on me. It was as if the very walls were alive, whispering secrets and warnings in a language I couldn't understand. The atmosphere was thick with tension, a palpable sense of anticipation hanging in the air. I could feel the weight of countless eyes on my back, their gazes filled with a mixture of hope and despair. The spirits of those who had come before seemed to be watching, waiting to see if I would succeed where they had failed. Their presence was both a comfort and a burden, a reminder of the stakes involved. They had seen countless others come and go, their hopes dashed against the rocks of the curse's power. But I was different. I had to be. I carried with me the knowledge and determination of those who had tried before, and I was determined to succeed where they had not. The town's future depended on it. The fate of the town, the very souls of its people, rested on my shoulders. It was a heavy burden, but one I was willing to bear. I knew that the road ahead would be difficult, but I was prepared to face whatever challenges lay in my path. For the sake of the town and its people, I would not falter. The legacy of dread would end with me. The old woman sat alone in her cottage, her face a roadmap of wrinkles etched by time and hardship. Each line on her face told a story, a tale of survival and resilience in a world that had long forgotten her. Her eyes, though clouded with age, still held a spark of defiance, a flicker of hope in the face of despair. They were windows to a soul that had seen much, endured much, and yet refused to be extinguished. She was the last of her bloodline, the only one who still remembered the old ways, the rituals that had been passed down through generations. The book she held was a relic, its pages worn and fragile, yet brimming with the knowledge of her ancestors. She agreed to speak with me, her voice a dry rasp, each word a labor. It was as if the weight of her memories pressed down on her, making each syllable a struggle. She spoke of a ritual, a summoning, a desperate attempt to appease the entity that held the town captive. Her words painted a picture of a time when the town was vibrant, before the darkness descended. It was a dangerous gamble, a dance with forces beyond human comprehension. The ritual required precision, a deep understanding of the ancient texts, and a willingness to risk everything. But it was their only hope, their last chance to break free from the curse's grip. The townspeople, driven by desperation, clung to the ritual as their final lifeline. The ritual was long forgotten, lost to time and fear, but the old woman, her mind sharp as a tack, remembered. She had been a young girl when she first learned of it, her grandmother's voice echoing in her ears. She recounted the steps, her voice barely a whisper, her words heavy with the weight of generations past. Each instruction was a thread in the tapestry of their history, a connection to a time when the town was free. The ingredients were specific, imbued with symbolic meaning, each one a piece of the town's history, a reflection of the broken pact. They were not just items, but symbols of the town's identity and its lost glory. The ritual had to be performed under the blood moon, a rare celestial event that bathed the town in an eerie crimson light. The blood moon was a harbinger, a sign that the time was right for the ancient magic to be invoked. It was a time of both power and peril, a night when the veil between worlds thinned and the ancient entities stirred. The air was thick with anticipation, the very essence of the night charged with otherworldly energy. The old woman's words echoed in my mind as I left her cottage. Her tales of the past, of the pact and the curse, lingered with me, a haunting reminder of the town's plight. The summoning was a double-edged sword, a desperate gamble that could either break the curse or condemn the town to a fate worse than they could imagine. It was a choice fraught with danger, a path that required courage and faith. I was walking a tightrope, balancing the fate of the town on my shoulders. The responsibility was immense, the stakes higher than I had ever faced. The air crackled with anticipation, the very fabric of reality thrumming with the approaching blood moon. The townspeople, though fearful, looked to the sky with a mixture of dread and hope. It was time to face the heart of the curse, to confront the entity that held the town hostage. The path ahead was shrouded in darkness, but the old woman's words gave me strength. I knew what had to be done, and I was ready to face whatever lay ahead. Please like, share, and subscribe.